barriers. There's limited relevant digital content that people can actually relate to at a local context. And this is existing also. There's inequality in terms of like education, because the literacy level of a person who maybe has finished maybe let's say a degree, or maybe let's say they are technical people, they probably have a lot more information about how to make use of the internet than the local farmer who's found in a rural area somewhere, let's say like maybe in non-acres. I don't know where, just an example. So those are all challenges that are facing, and this is very common about. And this, I'm not sure about different groups. The different groups of also in this issue. So women is just a segment of it. We have a lot of other people, different groups of people who are also segregated, and a part of that, 53% of people who are offline. So if you can see all these challenges that are happening within the internet, what comes to mind again after hearing this? What comes to mind when you think about the relevance of the internet to the community? What comes to mind? Anyone? Relevance of the internet to the local community. The information now becomes talking about the digital divide. That's why the digital divide comes in. There are those who know, there are those who don't know, there are those who access, there are those who don't access. So these are all challenges. Now, this was also some statistics that were given that there's about 716 million of the people who are not connected. They are from Africa. So I think you can see the highest percentage of the unconnected people is in Africa. Then comes the Arab states, Asia Pacific, the least developed countries, which we fall under, most of the African countries. They form 85% of the population who are offline. Then I have this illustration over here. These are 6 men, and they are given they were brought before an elephant. And each of these men could not see. And they were told to just feel or touch so as to identify what object this is. And every one of them identified something different. The first one held the trunk, and he said, "This is a snake." The other one, the tusk, and said, "This is a spear." Then another one held, sorry, the spelling. And then another one thought he was holding a tree. Another one touching the body of the elephant thought it was the wall. And the one who was holding the tail thought it was a rope. What does this tell us? That there are different perceptions about the internet. And the issues that internet governance is trying to address is to give everyone a chance to be able to actually address the elephant in the room while unfolding a veil that is blinding them from seeing what the internet really is. But the perceptions differ. Why? Because we have politicians, we have lawyers, we have business people, we have students, we have technicians, we have farmers. All of them see the internet from a different perspective. If you talk to a businessman, the internet is an enabler. They do their transactions, they use the pesa, they use different services like maybe eBay, Amazon. It's a business thing for them. It's an income. They talk about people that are in marketing. It's a platform for them to sell their goods, to promote their goods, to find business. Then if you talk to students, they're like, this is an academic resource. I found information. So perceptions regarding the internet are never the same. Depending on different. So these are characteristics of the offline community. There are many more, and you guys will be able to give you more on that one. But the few that I listed, that most of the offline communities, they live in remote areas. And also, in some cases, they are older people. Why? Because probably at At the time when these things were coming, they were not using them or they were not engaging with them. And then there are people with no education at English. And then areas where there is huge gender gap also. And also there are people with poor income. These are all part of some of the characteristics of offline people. What else can you think? What else are the characteristics of offline people? Who are they? Who are the offline people? What other thing can you think as a characteristic? Yes. Simply for different reasons. It is partly because of the security of this being on the internet itself, so you need that students to be part of that community. So it's also an adaptation issue, adaptation, cultural issues. They all make up the characteristics of an offline community. Thank you. Now, some of the key challenges when it comes to adaptability, infrastructure, accessibility, affordability, relevance. So I'm going to capitalize on relevance of the internet as a challenge that leads to no adaptability of the internet. And when we talk about relevance, content comes in. That's where content comes in. That to have more people build and adapt to connectivity, they need to have local content. They need to have local content. And we talk of local content, we talk about things which are relevant, things which make sense to the community that you're serving. I cannot go to a community of Zaramo people in Bagamoyo or in Pwani area in Tanzania and tell them about stuff in English and expect them to understand me in a remote area. Because the government system, the education is in Swahili. These people are used to Swahili. English is a foreign language. If I go to them and I tell them to read stuff on the internet, which is in English, will they go online? They're intimidated because they don't know English. Why should I be online when all the content is in English? That's where we talk about relevance. For local content, can we think of local content as something that can provide incentives for people to get online? Do we agree that it could provide an incentive for people to get online? Why? Can someone delve into that and tell me why you think local content can make people go online? Now that we're talking about relevance. Anyone?
I think people will be able to attribute
Yes.
to attribute what
Let me just talk. I think I'm not enough.
they'll be able to attribute what is happening in the community and the knowledge they already have with what's happening in the internet. So it will become easy for them to log in and see what is relevant to them on that particular community. With the language that they speak, they'll be able also to speak to somebody else in the same locality. So you can find a reason to go online.
Yeah. Thank you. Any other comments?
In addition to what we say, mine is a bit different. And it comes from the when it came out on the news about the internet space, the digital space in the US space is changing. Yeah. And then when you look at that information and trying to localize it, it's not available. So really localize information that comes from outside and making it relevant here. Because then that's the only way someone is able to think, okay, maybe that is relevant when it's happening elsewhere. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other one?
Yes. I feel like engaging yourself in local content, it's easier to express yourself.
Okay, so yeah, so it's easier for someone to explain themselves through their local content because that is what they identify with everything. Like in some rural areas, to take as an example of areas with low internet, low access, some of the people are not able to speak this other languages like Swahili and English, but if you engage them in their local content, they can actually express themselves so well.
Thank you. It seems people have an insight on local content. And it's critical, it's a critical component in efforts to help us bridge the digital divide. Because many non-internet users they claim that the internet is simply not relevant or of interest to them. But this is because they don't find relevance online. And a great part of this can be contributed by local content. So local content, it can include government services, commercial content, other users' content. It could be a friend. When I talk about other users, it could be family. It could be a friend, the content that they put online. They could put it in local language. For example, I could write a tweet in Swahili, which I rarely do. So I could do something like that. That's adding local content. Someone gets go through, someone who maybe doesn't know English and still learn. And this includes content that preserves and helps share local with oral tradition. So some of the key points to note is language. And when we talk about language, there are about 7,100 languages worldwide that are spoken. But English is perceived to be of dominance. Any material research online, English, you find like, I don't know, like a whole bunch of information. Anything you want to, you can Google right now in English and the material is available for you. I find trouble sometimes because I translate I freelance for one side app. And it's a company that translates technology-related content to Swahili. For example, translating an app like Truecaller so that it's available in Swahili. You can imagine the challenge of translating Truecaller to be in Swahili. How do you translate in-app purchases? Can you think of that? In-app purchases. You want it to be in Swahili. You see, and when you translate it, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't bring that Swahili, the actual meaning, and you've translated it to Swahili. So you think of those things, translating them to Swahili. They don't just come easy. It's a challenge. There's still a lot of words that if I want to translate it to Swahili, I have to I don't know, probably see professors and you have to bring it in as a new term. It's a challenge. And then there's content distribution. The content may be locally relevant, but not available in a country. That's an issue of license. Like recently in Tanzania, they passed a new bill. And this bill charges online content developers. For example, you're a blogger. In Tanzania now, the blogger has to pay about $900 as a license. Yeah, the new law that has come in. Now imagine the barriers or the challenge that this is going to cause. How much free content that people were getting is not going to be free as such. Because these are people who are going to be paying for a license. I benefit a lot from freelance bloggers who they just do it, but they don't get anything out of it. How am I going to go about it? If I'm a blogger who just wants to do it, I'm not making money. And I can't afford to buy the license. What's going to happen? So you see, these are all barriers. Availability of local content. And then there's location. Where is the content stored? The content stored, sorry, not the content. Now, the challenge with this is very real. Where is the content stored? How many of you have Gmail accounts? Yeah. How many of you have a .ke email? That's a challenge. That's a challenge because what it means is that our content is not stored within Kenya, right? Yeah. There's Google. Google is the one with the domains, and we are using the domain. I'm using a gmail.com. If I'm using a .co.tz or .co.ke, it means I'm making what? What am I trying to do? Yeah, I'm localizing. So localizing content is not just an issue of language also, even when it comes to domains. Encouraging people to have domains that are within their country, like have a .ke domain. That's something that helps with a long way when you talk about localization. And this is development, encouraging local content development. I don't know if you guys have apps that are in Swahili. There's Taxify, there is Uber. Are they in Swahili? They're not. Those are the local. Is Taxify local? Or it's a brought-in app. It's not from within. Huh? I know we in Tanzania we have a local app. It's called Kupatana. I know it's a local app. It's for the purpose of like you sell your goods or you advertise your things and people, or you have a house you want to rent, put it. Somehow it's in Swahili, but somehow it's still quite English dominated, and it's a local app. So those are all things that we need to look about. Are we developing programs or applications that are actually promoting local content? Another thing that we can think about is that there's less than 15% of the world's population actually speak English as the first language. What is your first language? This, just a brief example. What's your first language? Kikuyu. Yours? Kikuyu. Another one different from Kikuyu. Huh? Luya. Another one. Swahili. Okay, you see, everyone has their own different first language. But what is this language? As in, there's going to be a time when people won't remember their mother tongue. And it's very here. Like, there are kids growing up nowadays who don't know their mother tongue at all. But the internet could provide a solution to this. We could reserve this culture. We could reserve it. Like, I personally would love to be able to speak Zanaki like fluently and even write my articles in Zanaki, but I can't do that because I don't know much of Zanaki. But I can try for Swahili because it's more dominant, I speak it more. But a lot more time I spent doing things and writing them in English because while English is the dominant language, but how can we make Swahili dominant so that we can help to have more content of that? The challenges, they're technical. For example, the internet naming is based on English alphabet. You all know ICANN, the naming systems. They're all based on English alphabet. Then there's filtering and blocking. We'll find that the governments, they can enact laws and measures that restrict online content that they deem that can be undesirable for religious, social, or legal, or political. And this is something that is really happening lately in Tanzania. I can speak more for that because, like, a lot of stuff, this new bill that just came in allows the
pull down some content if it's not relevant to the culture, to the people, or that it's against the principles that people hold, either due to religious values or something. I don't know about Kenya. Maybe there's some also laws that kind of censor the kind of contents that we have online. And then there's local hosting. That's when I talk about having a localized domain, like a .ke, having a localized email, like you guys should. You have all your information out there, like you're just given Google everything, like, yeah. So when you go online and you're so happy, like you log into YouTube and YouTube is like, we're recommending this video to you. And you're like, yay, yeah, YouTube knows me. But that means your data is out there to them, right? They have your data, they know your patterns. They know that when Rebecca comes online, she's going to search for TED Talks, she's going to search for Diamond Platinum's new song. So whenever I log in, they just bring me Diamond Platinum's latest song because they know that's what I'm looking for. Or if I go to Google and I'm always searching for, let's say, Kitenge fashions, every time I log in and I try to start writing, they'll complete the sentence for me because they know that Rebecca searches for Kitenge fashions. So these are all things that they should alarm us, but they should also, they have a both, like, it's two sides of a coin, the positive and the negative side to it. And then we have the content creation, of course. That's when we talk about having content in Swahili or in other languages. This was just an example of just how much the internet has influence. Talk about healthcare, smart infrastructure, everything is kind of interconnected. Now, this is important to have other people coming to using the internet. In one of our in our first cohort for digital Grassroots, we had an ambassador when we were learning about IoT. He was supposed to like write or show photo stories of how people connect online, like so as to explain IoT. He decided to look at it from a different angle. What he did, he didn't show pictures of people connecting, but he showed pictures of people who are working in different sectors but they don't have knowledge of the internet. But if they had, they could connect their stuff in different varieties of ways. We talked about a welding shop. This guy welds metals and he makes furniture. If he had internet, if he had knowledge on IoT, there's so many things he could do. His machines, he could connect them. There are other things that he could do. For example, how do you market your stuff? He could market his products online. He could use social media to have a presence online, but he doesn't have that knowledge, so he cannot do that. You have a lot of boda in Kenya. You do, right? What are the characteristics of most of boda drivers? I know Kenya, English is kind of common, even the lowest people know English. But are there people like who don't know English completely? Now imagine such a person comes to Nairobi and start a boda business, let's say, or a taxi. He has a taxi he's driving. And maybe he's on Taxify. He joins Taxify or he joins Uber. And he needs to communicate maybe with, let's say, a foreigner comes to Kenya and he's looking for Uber. And this is the driver that is available. There's a communication barrier, first of all. But then the app itself is limiting him because it's in English. He'll be like, I'll just get used to the local way of connecting to my clients. If I use this, I don't know the language. One thing. I don't know what you're saying, an app. An app, what's an app? It's just an app. Like, there's so many words that are ambiguous for a person who doesn't know English. So this is a scenario. We have a total number of Swahili speakers that vary. For example, we have 50 million to over 100 million speakers of Swahili. And Swahili serves as a national language for 4 nations: Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Democratic Republic of Congo. Swahili is a national language. But despite this crucial fact, there's only a handful of content online, especially the technical, that is available in that language. What is this saying? What impression does this give us? Is there anyone who has a comment on that? Like, or maybe you have comments at the end, but this is something that should alarm us. It should really be an alarm. It should tick in our head like, this is not right. We're not one preserving our culture. We're not one promoting engagement of people online because they don't know this language. I know there are a lot of ICT solutions now trying to connect farmers in different places, like a farmer somewhere in Limuru, or let's say a farmer, where do they plant most? Like which county or which place do they do a lot of farming? Well, it depends. Let's say maybe it's clove. Clove is mostly in the coastal areas, right? Clove farmers. You want to connect this clove farmer to the international market. How are you going to connect a local clove farmer who probably doesn't know how to communicate with the person in English? And also you want them to be online, to have a presence online. It's a challenge because we don't have content, we don't have local traffic, there's a lot of other things that we don't have that they're not localized. So this is a scenario that you can just think about. So how can we promote local content? We can keep traffic local, like have ISPs. ISPs, there's an internet exchange points. So that what the ISPs, they can access locally stored content. The ISPs can be able to have that. And also the local data centers must understand the needs of having the local content on the market. And then we have language. I'm more into language because that's what I do most as an ICANN Wiki ambassador. But there are other things that we can do to promote local content. What can you suggest?
You know how English is standardized. In a simple way, I can really say there's no shame in English. Imagine in Swahili, there's shame in Nairobi. When you go to Mombasa, there is a hard there. Can you really decide this is one of the challenges?
Yes.
Maybe you cannot be able to standardize Swahili. Okay, I'm saying in English it is standardized. There is no shame in English, or there is no any dialect in English. somebody who is in England and somebody who is in Nairobi, they can share English very well. But now in Kenya and let's say Tanzania and say East Africa, like in Nairobi, I can speak Sheng, and somebody in Mombasa or in Malindi will see Sheng as very different kind of Kiswahili. So do you think this is a challenge because of the local online who want to develop content? We say, if I develop this online content, even for my own marketing strategies, even this content, it will not benefit people from that part of Tanzania and also part of Kenya because Kenyans want to go for English. And do you think now that there's so many dialects in maybe in Swahili, in Black, and maybe say Lahaja is a problem in developing on a local content?
I totally agree with you. That's like a new point of reason that I had not thought about, but it makes quite a lot of sense because the Swahili people speak in Democratic Republic of Congo is totally different. The Swahili people speak in Kenya, like the Sheng and the just Swahili, is different. The one that people speak in Tanzania mainland and the one that those in coastal areas of Tanzania speak is also different. So that's a challenge. It is, especially if you're trying to bring, like, let's say I'm trying to bring something to Nairobi, maybe an online blog, or maybe let's say an online exchange platform or something to Nairobi, and my key people are Nairobi. A lot of people in Nairobi speak Sheng, right? Or they speak the Kenyanized Swahili. I cannot use the same platform for people in Tanzania. If I take it to Arusha, they also have a different way of pronouncing their Swahili. If I take it to people in Zanzibar, Tanga, they have a different way of speaking Swahili. I can say chumvi, they can say dumvi. You see? That's the same thing, but the pronunciation and sometimes even the way they are written is different. So that is indeed a challenge, that there is lack of standardization. And thank you for bringing that up. It's a very important thing. There's lack of standardization. It's very common, like when you're talking about your keyboard in English, you can have the US English, you have the UK English, but they're quite similar. They're kind of standardized. There are only few things that are different, and you can still be able to tell. But for Swahili now, it's a challenge because, for example, I want to like bring an app like, and I say Sasa, and I take it to Tanzania. Personally, like a person would be like, Sasa, what next? As in, there's something that comes after Sasa for Tanzanians, but for Kenyans, Sasa is like Mambo, so that's a challenge. I cannot bring the same one there. There is no standardization. So thank you so much. That's a very crucial point you just brought up. What?
Anyway, just to add on a joke maybe. Now that Diamond is singing English, do you think Tanzanians will love to love Swahili? They want to go to English, huh?
Thank you. That's on point. Even our people are not promoting local content because we are all trying to be like the Western people, right? Like right now, if I used to watch the Boko movies before, but right now I can't watch them. Why? Because they are so westernized that they don't have relevance to the local community. Because I don't have people in my local community who I know who like, I'm going on a holiday to Hawaii. It's very rare. But in Western culture, there's so many people like, I'm going for a holiday in Hawaii, but my people are struggling to make a living. I cannot give them a story of a person living in a big mansion in a hotel. It doesn't really sound to them. So when you're talking about Diamond, he's singing his songs in English. I don't know if you've heard that is a challenge right now already for him. Not because of the language, but because of his videos and the cultural things that are attached to it. So it's something that the government is looking at like with a question mark, like you're not promoting our culture in your songs. Yeah. So and for Tanzanians, they sing it because Diamond is Diamond and like he's famous, he's trending, so people want to know what he's up with him. They'll listen to his songs, but most of them really some of them don't even know what he's singing. There's some words that they sing, but like the way we sing Nigerian songs, we love them, right? But we don't know what they are singing. If they are singing something wrong in our country, we don't know. We sing along. So that's also knowledge and awareness. People are trying. The English on Tanzanians, most of them we call it the easy words. Like there's a lot of Z in it, like this. I don't know how to say it. There's a lot of that. So that is also content, and he's not putting his content in the local language. So he's not helping to grow content on that aspect. Something else that you guys want to add up to? Want to add up on how we can promote?
I think we should be more proud of our local languages, that we should keep our cultures alive. And if we do that, then including making apps, we'll have more apps in our local languages, because that is our culture, that is who we are. We are proud of where we come from.
Right. Yes, we need to have development, the area of development. We need to develop infrastructure. We need to develop apps that are in that language so that we can be able to grow it. Or else you'll be talking about Swahili in the next 10 to 20 years as something that has grown extinct. Just the way that right now we're talking about elephants and rhinos going extinct. Our local languages are also going extinct. There's a red alert on that. Something else?
Like having forums like these ones done in our local language. Like you imagine, like now if we have been speaking in Swahili, that would have been a way of promoting our local language.
Yes, definitely. And here we are using the same language. Once again.
Okay, I have a question on something that he has talked about, and it deals with the issue of local languages. You find that there is a difference, or rather a divide in the local languages. Like Swahili, for example, we talked about the Swahili of Kenya being different from the Swahili of Tanzania. You can also find that the Swahili of people from Nairobi is maybe different from Swahili of people from a different sector of this country. Now, how do we reconcile these differences with our and help and achieve our objective of promoting local content? You might find that it might be very hard to achieve the end objective because of the misunderstandings or the mismatch of the divide that exists.
Thank you. That's a very good question. And there's no one way of answering that question, but this is what I can say about it. For example, I am from Arusha, and Arusha Swahili is known to be rude. For Tanzanians, Arusha Swahili is rude. It's rude. I know you may find it weird, but the Swahili people speak in Arusha, they consider it to be rude. But the Swahili people speak in coastal areas like Dar es Salaam and let's say Lindi or Mtwara. It's a very polite Swahili. Samahani, tafadhali nisaidie. Habari yako. But you find a person in Arusha telling you, niaje, and they'll tell you in a full shangwe. Those other weird words like chuga, minatoka chuga. There's a way they say it that is different from the other. Now there's an issue of pronunciation, that is one. How the language is pronounced, it's different. And I think we can all agree that there's accents involved. For example, let's say a Luo person speaking Swahili or English, there's an accent that is identified with him. A person from Belgium speaking English, there's an accent identified with him. A French-speaking person speaking English, there's an accent identified with him. So there's an issue of accents and pronunciations when it comes to that issue. Like when I'm talking about Swahili at the same time, because you say there's Nairobi and there's people from, let's say, Mombasa, and they have all different ways of pronouncing the language. And then there's an issue about, we all come down to relevance. If I want to serve the community in Nairobi, I have to put content that is relevant. So I can put shame. That is my way of localizing content for Nairobi people. But that is the challenge comes with, like, I can't cover a whole group of people because that would be like focusing too much on Nairobi. And it's like just a small segment of Swahili speakers. But then again, when you talk about standardization, like for example, for Tanzania, despite all these differences in Swahili, We're taught in Swahili, and the Swahili we are taught with is the same. Because our books are in Swahili, like for primary schools, our books are in Swahili, mathematics is in Swahili, science is in Swahili. So those are words that people are already internalizing. But for Kenya, it's in English, right? Swahili is taught as a subject. So I can't really give a concise suggestion on how we can solve that one. But for Tanzania's side, I know the standardization can be solved due to the curriculum. You find them speaking the other one that we call the street Swahili. But since you're going for the official Swahili, we have to have a content in official Swahili, like the right Swahili, Swahili Fasaha. Because even in English, there is what? There's Swahili, there is English which is not like a standard English. A lot of Black people speak English that is not really like English. I don't know how else to say it. So there's no one way of addressing that. But I think we need to have one standard that we work with, which will apply for all.
I think English is not standardized for all. Yes, there's American English, even Australian English, and I do not see why we cannot standardize locally as we speak the language in an official manner. And then segment it. Have Kenyan Swahili, Tanzanian Swahili, and Swahili from the DRC. Because I understand the words that can be different. Yes. Correct? However, the spirit of the language remains the same. So we can't have a one size fits all. Yes. Yeah.
I think she has answered your question more than I did. That was perfect. That gets with that. And also it touches on the part of relevance, because that's when you have relevance to Kenyan people when you give them their Swahili, DRC people when you give them their Swahili, Tanzanian people when you give them their Swahili. Thank you very much. There was someone with a question around here, I think.
In the young youth and the growing population in our generation, so that we can be able to find a standardized method of communicating well and efficiently to each other, so that for proper inclusivity.
That's a good also comment. Or someone also with something to say?
On the same note, in promoting local content, there is also a need to develop our local search engines. Search engines that will focus on local content and local matters, things that are happening around Kenya, Tanzania, and DRC, and other speaking countries. This is because people relate to what they understand best. And in this perspective, we develop our own search engine, then it will best improve the local content in the internet.
Thank you. That's also a very good point. That's an idea for someone here that, yeah, I can develop a search engine in Swahili.
So also in support of promoting local content, we have to be very proactive, not just saying we need to, I don't know, make search engines to, promote local content. What can you do? For example, I'm going to use myself as an example. I have a blog, it's called Ameru.co.ke. On that blog, we tell stories about, how, like in our generation, for some things that happened a long time ago, I don't know them. So I go asking and find out what's happening. And then also the way the blog is set up updates the things that are happening in Nairobi. So you find even if you're in Nairobi, you can relate to that content. In fact, we have
a leader from Meru, but he lives in Tanzania. He's 60-something years. He found our blog by just a fluke of luck. And that's the only thing that keeps him online. So it's not just a matter of waiting for other people to do something. You also have to do something by yourself, because like running the blog, of course, it's a lot of work because you have to, make time and write, but then it's not expensive. We pay 2,000 Kenya shillings per year for, domain and hosting. And then the other things is just a matter of kujitolea. So as much as we are saying, yeah, local, whatever, do something about it. So in that same light, vote for my blog on Bake.
No, I like that she said that you can't wait for someone else to do it. Eh? A lot of us are waiting, and chances are if you're waiting for someone else to do it, he's also waiting for you to do it. So it's going to be a game of the cat and the rat. Never ends.
So mine is a comment on what we can do. I work in the education sector, and first thing that I want to raise is policies that we've allowed in our Kenyan schools, also in African schools. Platforms that are bringing Western content and are allowed in our schools. That's something that probably is done wrongly. And what currently we do at my workplace, we have a very fun thing for kids in art. And what we're telling them to create is very local in their languages, do art videos, storytelling on things or activities that are around them, like events for sport, just tell them to do that. So we could leverage on existing technologies that kids can use, because I believe for it to be done, you have to start down at the level so that the kids grow up with that, rather than starting up there in the adults or colleges. You better do it when the kids are very young so that they can grow with that culture.
Thank you very much for your comment. I think that's exactly what also Digital Grassroots is trying to do, to grow digital citizenship. Now, we can all agree that the young kids growing up in this generation, those are more digital citizens than we will ever be. Why? They are born in an era where a lot of things are done online. So those are the people we need to give them the knowledge that they need to have to be able to be cool and responsible digital citizenship. And part of that is also helping them to understand the essence of them appreciating their content, their local content, and developing their local content. So I applaud you for that. That's a good initiative. And having them doing it in their local language is helping them to embrace their culture, to embrace their heritage. And if we grow that kind of citizenship for them, it will make them people who are responsible, people who will create content that is relevant to their community. Thank you so much. Now, I know time is not on my side, so I need to move quickly. I'll just share about an initiative that is helping to create local content in Swahili. ICANN Wiki. ICANN Wiki has, it creates a pool of ICANN Wiki Swahili translators, and they contribute to capacity building. So they are dedicated to supporting the internet community's collaborative development of wiki articles on ICANN and IG-related topics. And their mission is to give everyone a voice in the future of the internet. I have been running workshops for ICANN Wiki as an ambassador for 3 years now. And the thing that I've noticed the most is that we have people that we have things that are relevant to IG or things that are IG related that are available, but they're not in Swahili also. That's one thing. First of all, they're not very easily available, even in the other language. And second, they're not available in Swahili. And I am also trying to, like, for example, on my behalf, I'm trying, like, I want to get, like, for example, students in UDZ or students in University of Makumira in Arusha to, like, learn about IG, but also to find it relevant in their language. So they don't find this content in Swahili. So ICANN Wiki created also the Swahili version of ICANN Wiki, where now if you go to that website, you can find content on internet governance in Swahili language. And it's a challenge, I tell you. On a serious note, it's a challenge because I don't know. A lot of people that I know, they can talk like a whole complete sentence or a whole complete 3 sentences without putting an English word inside it. Now you're talking about serious stuff.
but you're writing about them in Swahili. It's a challenge. And ICANN Wiki needs more translators, more people who are willing to have this IG content in Swahili so that everyone can have a voice in the future of the internet. We're talking about a multi-stakeholder approach to internet governance. But we're talking about also people who are supposed to be part of that multi-stakeholder approach, users, who a great majority of them, for example, for Tanzania, they speak what? Swahili. So how are they going to learn about IG if there is no content for that in Swahili? So this ICANN Wiki's purpose is to work on that. And there are work areas in content creation and editing, community building, and outreach. Outreach is like running workshops. I understand in Kenya, Strathmore University holds ICANN Wiki editathon workshops. I think that they're the first people to start the Swahili one. With there's a guy called Boniface Witaba, an ICANN Wiki Swahili ambassador here in Kenya. And there's another guy, Christopher, is a lecturer from Strathmore. They do those workshops and they help translate content to Swahili, IG content. So those are people you can reach out to if you want to get involved with ICANN Wiki Swahili initiatives within Kenya. And then, so what happened is that they work on a neutral point of view, that you write things from a neutral point of view, using all the wiki values. When we're talking about wiki values, there's transparency as well involved. And they have a program, that's the ICANN Wiki Ambassador, which helps an ambassador to be a certified editathon workshop facilitator. Like you can bring a group of people and teach them how to create content on the wiki, on IG in Swahili. And they'll give you their videos that guide you, tutorials, there are examples that you can follow that help you, but also the most important thing is that you always have to reference your work because you take it from other platforms so that it can be something that is actually correct and real. And then how you can get involved, you can translate and contribute, you can become an ambassador. Become an ambassador is not complicated, you just have to have a number of articles that you have created or translated within their platform so that you can be accorded that title. And you can partner with them to facilitate or host an event, or you can sponsor some of their activities. So that's only one part of it. There's also the localization lab, so another organization that is trying to create content that is in that language. Like I told you, when I translate this content for one Sky app, you find that the technical language is very, very difficult to have it in Swahili. But you want this person to have an app on their phone that is in Swahili because they want to use maybe, let's say, Truecaller, but they can't use it because it's in what language? It's in English. I can't determine the person calling me. They do maneuver, you can maneuver. But for a person who is not having much literacy, even education-wise, and it's in English already, you're already setting him off to withdraw from using the internet. Therefore, you're growing an offline community. So I think I now welcome general questions and comments so that we can conclude the presentation.
I have a question. Now that I have also the desires for the youth at heart, how can you make the youth participate in this? I mean, how can you create opportunities so that they also, as they participate in creating this local content, it's not just for free?
The content is not just for free. It's true. Everyone wants to make a living, right? Everyone does. It's part of you being a human being. So this is challenging. And I can share an example from the workshops that I've been doing on ICANN Wiki. I have been, luckily enough, I've had a chance to be sponsored by people like, let's say, ISOC, people like ICANN Wiki or ICANN to run those workshops. But if I didn't have, I would still have a challenge because first of all, the youth don't know internet governance. They don't know. And I'm talking about people who are IT majors. They know IT, but they don't know internet governance. It's something that is not really taught in university. Maybe it's taught here. I also studied in Kenya, but I didn't learn it. I studied in university in Kenya, I didn't learn it. So I think it's a challenge. People don't know, the youth don't know internet governance. Even those who are in the technical realm, unless they have been involved in society such as ICANN, that's when they start getting a view of this thing, a feel of what these things are about. And then another challenge when it comes to creating content. For example, I'm looking at the local movies that we create in my country. We have a lot of actors who are trying to be actors, and they're doing their movies in Swahili. Okay, they're doing the movies in Swahili, but also they're integrating some English within their movies, and they're creating some subtitles and everything. And I actually applaud this group of people, though I don't really like the translations. Like I know you pass by a video booth and you hear maybe Rambo speaking in Swahili. I know, I see that a lot. Like Jackie Chan is speaking in Swahili, and people are very common in Tanzania. You find a bunch of people are settling a shop and they're listening to a movie that was produced by who's a famous actor, a very famous actor. Schwarzenegger. So they're listening to Arnold Schwarzenegger in a second voice of someone else in Swahili. I applaud them for one thing. They're trying to create local content. They're trying to make people go online. So you find a lot of youth nowadays are downloading those videos, either if they're available on YouTube or they're buying those CDs. So they're becoming digital citizens. They're helping. But the part which I don't really applaud them for is that they do the wrong translations. Yeah, they say their own things of most of the time. That's the part I don't applaud, but they're trying to get local content. And they're making money out of it. They are. Because they're translating and now selling those movies. So I don't know if it's considered also intellectual property is not very right. Because they don't have the permission of those people to create this content. You know, in Swahili, they don't have that permission. So that's one way they can create local content and still make an income. But also, I don't know if I understood your question wrong. That's what you're naming it, right? But there's also youth who are bloggers. The famous blogger in Tanzania, Millard Ayo, he's blogging a lot about everything that happens in Tanzania, politics, the funny side, the entertainment side, like what Zari and Diamond do. He blogs about all those stuff. And he does it in Swahili, but he is making money. That guy is making a lot of money with his job. Why? He has a lot of viewers, he has a lot of followers, and these people, though they don't know if they're making an income from it, because they're giving him an avenue for advertising. He now has people advertising stuff on his website. So it's all about creativity and innovation of a youth who wants to actually do content at the same time benefit from it. I think that's how I can put it. Foster innovation in them and engage them. Yeah. Thank you.
Let's give her a warm round of applause. She's done very good.